What's up, everybody, and we are here to talk about Zed Run tournaments. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, but as you know, I am terrible at keeping it short. So we're just going to go over some of the basics, what I think is going to happen, and what I think people are not fully grasping how it's going to play out. So there's going to be $300,000 to be won. They say it's absolutely free, but you still have to race your horse to get in. The way it works is starting Friday, October 15th at UTC time, which I believe is over towards Great Britain. That's when it starts. Lasts for 2 weeks. And essentially, you have to race your horse in a minimum of 30 races in a specified distance category. The way the categories are being broken out is sprinter, mid, and marathoner. So just like Haku. Sprinters are considered 1,000 to 1,400 meters. Mid runners are 1,600 to 2,000, and marathoners are 2,200 to 2,600. This is interesting because that's not how I think most of us think about the game. You know, to me, traditionally, I thought sprinters were 1,000 to 2,000, mid runners were 14 to 18. Your marathoners were 22 to 26, and that 2,000 was just kind of like a lost distance where, you know, you're not really a mid-runner, but you're not really a marathoner. But this is really going to play out in a really interesting way, and I'll show you why. But essentially, you have to run a minimum of 30 races to qualify in one of these categories over that 2-week period of time. Now, if you run 33 races, they give an example further down. If you run 33 sprints and 31 marathoners, you should qualify for the sprint category because you had more. But if you somehow placed higher in the marathoner category, that will take your highest place position, and then that's what distance you run in for the rest of the tournament until the grand finale. Now they're doing it based off show rate. Okay? So if you place in the top 3, that's all they're measuring. They don't matter if it was first, third, they're weighed the exact same. And this is to help prevent downclassing. So essentially, if you run 4th or below, it's the same negative impact. How I think this plays out is you're going to see a lot of horses run their 30 races at the preferred distance, or, you know, if they are doing some sort of downclass variation, they'll probably run, you know, like a 3-to-1 ratio of their preferred distance versus their downclass distance, or 3-to-2, at least until they pop up on the leaderboard, because you don't pop up on the leaderboard until you completed your 30th race in any distance category. And then they'll be able to see, you know, how much wiggle room they have. The top 192 horses from each category move on. So that's 576 horses total. We're going to skip straight over to here. Now what happens in the quarterfinals is they pin all the sprinters against each other, all the mid-runners against each other, and all the marathoners against each other. Each one of these little blocks here is one race with 12 horses. Only the winner moves on to the semis. Okay? And what's really interesting about how Zed's doing this is they're running them at the 1,200 meters, the 1,800 meters, and the 2,400 meters. So it's the mid-distance, right? So what that's going to do is normally horses that are super specialized and have a high distance preference in sprints perform best at 1,000. And normally the horses that perform best at 1,400 are slightly less distance preference and have a higher base ability. So because they're meeting in the middle at the 1,200, the horses that have the super high distance preference could potentially lose to a horse that has a better traditional run rate at 1,400 meters. I know a lot of my 1,200 meters specialists, they run better at 1,200 meters, can do pretty good at 14 as well. It just depends on the matchups. But why this is interesting is because it's a middle ground, right? The 1,800 meter runners, they're a little bit rare, but the 2,000 meter horse and the 1,600 meter horse coming up to 1,800, like that's going to play out really weird, especially when it's a winner take all, move on to the next round scenario. You know, it's just going to be really interesting to see who beats who, especially that one of one race. That's going to be what makes it so exciting. And the thing is, Zed seems to be placing your horse in these races for you. So you don't have to worry about downclassing for the quarterfinals, the semifinals, the finals, and the grand finale, because you're only running against the other horses that placed. or advanced, I should say. Now, once you have all these top horses go in, 4 more races are ran, and the top 3 horses from each one of those races will move on to the final sprinter race, where the top 4 sprinters will move on into the grand final. Same thing with mid-runners and marathoners. I'm not exactly sure how the distances are being chosen for the semi and finals, or even technically the grand final. I don't know. But there will be some interesting things going down, that's for sure. So for the grand final, all 12 horses have to run in 2 sprints, 2 mids, and 2 marathons. This is going to be the point system that they use. Zoom out a little bit for you. For the grand final. So first place gets 10.24. 12th place gets 0. That is a huge drop off. And the difference between even 3rd and 5th is so significant. So really, say you have a distance specialist horse, okay, and you come in first in both sprints somehow, and then the sprint preference horse comes in first twice. Then the high distance preference horse for the longer distances comes in first twice at the longer distance races. Then it's really going to come up to, first and second, or seconds and thirds. Or, do you come in 10th? Like, it's so many different scenarios that can happen here. I'm not even going to try to go into all of them at this moment. But the one thing I did want to show was the race schedule. And this is where things get pretty cool. So the 15th through the 30th is qualifiers. That is you racing your own horse. Then the qualifiers start at 4 p.m., 4 hours after the end of qualifiers. Right? They start at 4 p.m., the quarterfinals do. And Zed will run your horses with you. I believe this is going to be a test for the potential queue system and party mode, because they're going to be doing essentially a custom race where they insert your horse, or they select your horse for a custom race. So to me, that means they're testing the party mode, which they've hinted towards, and potentially a queue system, just to help with race generation. And they've also, talked about they want to create an ELO system. So normally ELOs are run off of queues or randomly selected races. They're not traditionally pick your poison type styles. With the way the leaderboards are set up, where you're going to be in your specified category based on what distances you run, I believe that's the test for the ELO. Just to kind of see how horses stack up, see how it can be manipulated, if it does, with downclassing. Because if you put Princess of Power at long distance races, starting at 0 points at Class 5 and run her 30 times, she has a 53% show rate. And like a 28% win rate, I think. And she's just going to be in Class 1 before you know it. And, does she beat some of the other top Class 1 runners? It's a little bit more even of a playing field up there, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see what happens. I'm going to see how much sabotage there is for the horses that aren't the top tier. They're not the LBJ goats, not the Steph Currys. But those middle range horses trying to get into those bottom, 92 positions maybe. How many people are going to be using their other horses to snipe races to push them out? Especially stables that have multiple horses that are the same distance preference type horses, right? Like, technically, Arbitrage Racing could take Princess of Power and Steph Curry and kind of wait to see, where somebody ranks, and then start sniping the races with, Princess of Power to push out another horse if they wanted to get a 3rd or 4th horse up into the rankings. It's very doable. Very doable. Especially when you have that much race experience. I don't think they will, because they have a big stable to remain profitable, and they'll be managing their class points quite vigorously, I believe, during the qualifiers. But I think some stables are going to come together and try to sabotage each other. It's an interesting move. But yeah, so Zed runs your horses, 4-hour gap. Then 2 hours later, the semifinals start. and it runs for 3 hours. The finals are 30 minutes, and there's an hour and a half gap for the grand final that takes place at 10 o'clock. And because that's 6 races taking place over 30 minutes, I'm willing to suspect that there might be an announcer calling these races one after another. And some sort of stream production, I would hope. That's really what I believe. It'd be cool at least, right? I also find it interesting that the top horse here, I just noticed this, is wearing a skin. What the heck does that mean? There is a skin on that horse, and it looks like a NASCAR skin. Interesting. Is this going to be the first time skins can be used, and they're not going to announce it until we get to the grand final? But the other thing to take note, too, if you are going to watch most of these races, you are going to need 10.5 hours of your... oh, no, the grand finale takes place the last day. That's on the 31st. So for the quarterfinals, the finals, you're going to have to be near the computer or your phone for 4 hours. And then October 31st will be the grand final. And then here's the cash payout breakdown. I believe this $3,000 will be paid out to all the horses that advance to semifinals, $6,000, so on and so forth. I think. There's not really a whole lot of clear clarification on how that works. Now, based on this, what I think is going to happen is, in the event that somewhere along here they have to race, where was it? Where'd you go? So it says 3 races, right? I'm wondering if they have to race at each distance. I'm wondering. So if you're a sprinter at the final level, you'd run a 1,000, a 2,000, or a 1,000, 1,200, or 1,400. It's just not very well explained or broken down at all. Because here it's saying there's going to be 12 races that take place at the semifinals. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, each one runs at all 3 distances. So this is why shit gets crazy. Marajo does not win a 1,400 meter race against a 1,400, 1,600 meter runner. It's just not going to happen. So, and like if you have a super special 1,600 meter race, it's not going to beat an 1,800 meter, 2,000 meter runner at 2,000 meters. So, like, what's going to happen is those horses that are super used, that are really good at downclassing, which are probably all going to qualify, are going to start fizzling out going into the semifinals, and then they're going to fizzle out even more going into the finals. And when you get to the grand final, when they have to go multiple distances at their off distance and in less preferred distance, I don't see the usual suspects pulling this off. And to me, that excites me. Because Princess of Power is probably the most dominant horse in the game. At least is the way that's structured today. But I really think that if a Genesis, Zabo, or Nakamoto can make it to this point, they win. If a sprinting Genesis, Zabo, or Nakamoto gets to either of these points, I think they move on. I think the saving grace for the high distance preference horses and high variance horses, like your Princess of Powers and stuff like that, is the fact that at this point they're going to be taking the top 4 horses and not just the winner. And here's the top 3 horses and not just the winner. So there could be a second place in there or a third. But man, it's going to be wild. And as much as people talk about like Poseidon's stable not having a lot of profitable horses because he doesn't run them that much. I could see Grandor being, or a Ducky Malin, out of Doofy, winning this whole thing if it can make it to this point. And I think it'd be kind of cool to watch an OG, one of the first content creators, someone who got in super early, both of those guys have paid their dues, they've helped the community. I wouldn't mind if someone like that would win, especially because I don't have the horses strong enough to compete at that level. Now, my strategy for the tournament is I just want to qualify. I don't think I have anything strong enough to actually do so over that many races. But this is a Z10 exclusive filly I bought the other day for 0.1. She's super unprofitable right now. She's up to 62 races, which I don't even know how that happened. But I'm currently trying to downclass her, which is failing miserably because she doesn't have a very high distance preference. Race generation right now is not keeping up with the demand, especially at the cheaper races, which would be used for downclassing. And as you can see, 8th, 7th, 9th, 6th, 6th. Because I keep getting stuck in races where everyone's trying to downclass. That was a downclass race. That was me just testing, see what would happen. But so it's really hard. There's a lot of people trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do right now. But if I can get her to class 5, I think I have a shot because she's a distance horse primarily, and she has a 48% show rate at long distance. I won't be able to run the 2000, so let's take that out. Yeah, so 46% show rate if I take out 2000. So that's not bad. Princess of Power at these same distances, who's a much stronger horse. She's at 53% show rate, I do believe. But luckily, all I have to do is show. I don't have to win. So that kind of gives me a slight edge, because I do have a lot of second places here. But yeah, so I'm going to try to get Kozuki down to class 5. And then from there, hopefully be able to beat up on some noobs. Beat up on some lower tier horses for the qualifiers. It's not nice, but it's the only way I'm qualifying. She has success in class 5, obviously. And then the other horse I'm going to try to get down is Get Spooked. So she's a sprinter, and she still likes to win distance races. So she's won 2000. I believe she's won a 2200 possibly. But if I look her up by sprint category, she's a 47% show rate. Oh, excuse me. So fortunately, she's got a little bit of variance, and she's not competing class 3. So after 30 races, if she does well in class 5, I'm going to be right back up there to class 3. So I'm hoping that all the other good sprinters push to class 2, and I'm still in class 3. So we'll see what happens. But I really think it's going to be a Genesis, Zamba, or Nakamoto that wins the whole damn thing. I really do. I don't think any of the Buterins have a shot. I don't think any of the Finnies have a shot. I really don't. I even thought, like, oh man, if I didn't run Cheeks to the ground, she would have been a fun one to enter in the tournament. But she only has a 28% show rate, which is still a fun horse. I had a lot of fun running her. And she's only been in 53 races anyways. Let's see what happens if we draw her down. She would be 25% show right there. Is that? Yeah, so 40% show rate with all those damn 5th places. But yeah, that's all I got. I'm just going on a random rant. Just thought it'd be fun to look at. And yeah, so if you have any questions, concerns, comments, drop them in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter, Discord. You know the drill. I'm beyond excited for this. I think this is Zed testing out all their bells and whistles. The big Atari tournament that will be coming sometime in the future. I think that could be an end of the year or a New Year's type tournament. Zed Run openly admitted that they have not been marketing, they have not been trying to create hype because they know their product does not function properly. I really think this is going to be the final final stress test, right? They're encouraging everybody to run every decent horse they have 30 times in 2 weeks. That's going to be a huge amount of races going on. So it'll be interesting to see how Race Generation can handle that. Then they're going to be having the ELO system, or the mock ELO, with the leaderboards, which will directly take us into some sort of queue system and custom races. And once all that's ironed out and working well, we could really see a huge surge in Zed Run going into the 4th quarter, which I'd be extremely excited about because we all know it's coming. If they throw any type of marketing effort into this game, it's lights out. It's over. So that was the video. Hit me up if you have any questions or anything else, and y'all have a good day.